Hi everyone, I'm Jacy from Craft Life and I'm here today to teach you how to make a Rainbow Loom large 3D cupcake. If you don't have a lot of rubber bands and you would like to make a smaller version of the cupcake, I have a video for it and I'll put a link in the description box below if you would like to check it out. The supplies you'll need to make this cupcake are 1 Rainbow Loom, a Rainbow Loom hook or a crochet hook, rubber bands, today I'm using red for the cherry, and the cherry is completely optional, you do not need to make it. I'm also using brown and blue. You will also need scissors and something to stuff your cupcake with. Today I'm using polyfill, but I also heard that cotton balls work great, but you can use whatever you would like to stuff yours. So please get your supplies and we'll begin. To begin, I just want to say that this cupcake design is my design. It took me a very long time to come up with this, and I want to give a shout out to Crafty Ladybug because I really liked her technique for the bottom, and I'm using her technique today because I wanted my cupcakes to be able to stand. So to begin, we're going to set up our loom. So we're going to take out our middle row. Then we're going to take this row and we're going to turn it around so that its arrows point to the left. You're going to push this all down and then pull out your big blue piece. So the pegs we are going to be using today are from here to here, and we are going to use the 5 center pegs. So if you want to make sure that you have the 5, we're going to count 3 on both sides. So those are your 5 we are going to start off with. And for these 5, we're going to take 2 rubber bands. We're going to twist them on our hook once. Then we're going to take 2 more rubber bands. Pull these through, place it back on, and we're going to count 3 pegs and then the peg next to it. So we're going to place this on this peg. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to stick our hook back in, and this way is much easier because I'm going to stick my hook through the bottom, and what I'm going to do is place my 2 more rubber bands on my hook, and I'm just going to pull them up through, and then at the top again I'm going to just place them back on and let go from my bottom. And now I'm going to stretch it out to the other far end. Stretch it out diagonally. And just in case you're confused, all you need to do is count out to make sure you have 5 pegs from here to here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then make sure you have 3 pegs on either side of your project. So now we can continue, and we're going to go and place one from here and then do one here. So we're going to stick it through the bottom. Grab 2 rubber bands. We're going to pull these up through it, pull them back, and then place it back on, like that. So this one's going to go on this corner, and we need to do one on that corner. So you're just going to continue this. Stick your hook in, grab 2 rubber bands, you're going to pull them up through it, and pull your finger up through it too, so that you're not stretching out the rubber band too far, and you're going to pull it back on your hook, place it back on, and then we're going to go to the corner and place these down. Now we're going to do the same things for these 6 pegs. So just continue sticking your hook through the bottom, grabbing 2 rubber bands, and you're going to pull them through along with your finger and place it back on. and then bring it to the peg in front of it and do the one across from it. Continue this. So now, once you have laid this, we are going to lay X's from this side all the way across to this side. And on each end, we are going to double it. So we're going to wrap it around our finger. And we're going to make an X from here to here. Press it down. Then you're going to do the same thing from here to here. So twist it on your finger. And push them down as you go. Now we're just going to do normal X's for the rest of them until you get to the other side. So just X them and push them down. And now we're just going to go across this and push them down on top. Now we're going to double X from here to here and here to here. So we're going to twist it around our finger.
Keep going.
And we're going to make an X from here to here. Now you're going to take another rubber band and do the same thing. Now we're going to go back to this side. And we're going to double X again on the ends. So we're going to twist it around our finger. Make an X from here to here. And push it down. And you're just going to go from peg to peg all the way down until you get to the other end. And just lay them normally and push them down. So now on this end, we're going to do the same thing and twist it around our finger and then make an X. Now we're going to start laying our rows and just make sure that your loops are pushed down as far as they can go. And for these thick pegs, just make sure that they're pushed down. And we're going to lay our first row. So we're going to go around in a counterclockwise rotation and do not push your rubber bands down. So now for this, I prefer to use a metal hook, and if you do not have a metal hook, I would use a metal crochet hook because this may break your Rainbow Loom plastic hook. So now we're going to take our bottom loops over the top, and what I'm going to do is put my hook in downward and then bring it over, and if you want, you can hold those loops. Do the same thing here, bring it over, and just place it downward for the rest of these. And when you get to a peg with all of these rubber bands, you're going to want to be super careful, and we're going to just bring them over. And then push them down. So stick your hook in downward. Hold these and bring it over. And continue. And all I'm doing is looking for 2 rubber bands at the top and then sticking my hook in. So make sure you're leaving your top 2 rubber bands. Now things become a little easier and you're just going to want to stick it downward again. So now push all your loops down. And for the rest of the rows, they're going to be much easier. So now we're going to lay our next row. And do not push your rubber bands down. So now we have a bottom row and a top row, and what we're going to do is bring our bottom loops over the top, and each peg is going to have 2 rubber bands that you're just going to bring over. So now push these down. And we have just done 2 rows, and you want to have 6 rows in total. So please do 4 more rows of laying your rubber bands in a counterclockwise rotation, and then bring your bottom 2 loops over the top in a clockwise rotation and push them down as you go. So please do 4 more rows of this. I've just finished my 4 more rows, and now I have 6 rows. And I finished the bottom part of my cupcake, and it's time to move on to the top part, which is the icing. And it is the same exact process, except we are switching to another color. So we're going to lay this color, again, in a counterclockwise rotation, the same way we did the bottom part, and do not push them down. So now, once you've laid them all the way around, we are going to bring our bottom 2 loops over the top in a clockwise rotation. Then you're going to push them down as you go. Please do this so you have 4 rows of your icing color, and I'll be right back. I just finished my 4 rows of my icing color, and now I'm going to show you how to get this rolled look for your icing. And what we're going to start off by doing is we're going to hook it, so we need to start on the peg next to it. And we're going to take that top loop, and we're going to switch it to the bottom, and take the bottom loop, and switch it to the top. And you really need to do that, because if you do not, it will fall apart. So we're going to start on this peg. We're going to take our bottom loop over the top into the peg next to it. And as you can see, that was my bottom loop because it hooked the loop behind it. We're going to do the same thing for this peg. So stick it in and grab the bottom loop that was once the top loop. And I'm so glad that I made that change because look, it was the bottom loop and it hooked the loops behind it. So now I'm going to grab my bottom loop here to the peg in front of it. And just check it as you go and make sure it hooks the loops behind it. So continue this all the way around. So now on our last peg, we're going to stick our hook in, we're going to grab one rubber band, pull this up through, place it back on, and pull one loop through the other. And now we're going to take this off our loom. And now we're going to do the hardest part, which is we're going to roll it. And we're going to put this row, the row in front of the brown, back onto our loom. And this is the hardest part, remember, and it's going to be very hard to do. But what we're going to do is we're just going to stick our hook in and grab the two from that row. Just grab two of them. So grab any of them, it doesn't matter where you start around the circle, but we're just going to grab two from one spot and we're going to place them onto this peg. Then we're going to go next to it and we're going to grab the next two. And that was one row because if you see that loop there in the middle of them, it should look like that. So anytime you put it back on and you see that, that is the signal that you did it correctly. And all I'm doing is grabbing the row and placing it back on. And one more time, I just want to say that it is the row in front of the brown. And check for the signal each time. Make sure you're staying in the same row too. And this is a very advanced design. It is very difficult, and all you need to do is grab the two loops and just bring them to the pegs. But it can be very hard to find the two loops. Then we're going to place our last one back on. So it should look like this. And now we're going to lay our first row of the very top of our icing. And we're going to start on these two pegs. And we're just going to lay our row normally in a counterclockwise rotation. And remember to not push these loops down. Now we have a bottom row and a top row, and we're just going to bring our bottom two loops over the top. And for these loops, you're just going to grab the two and bring them over. It is going to be different, but all you need to do is just bring them over. And remember to make sure you are only grabbing two rubber bands at a time. So now we're just going to push this whole thing down. And we're going to lay another row. So just go in a counterclockwise rotation and do not push your loops down. Now we have a bottom row and a top row, and we're just going to bring our bottom 2 loops over the top on all of our pegs. So now push these down. So we have just done 2 rows, and you want to have 6 rows in total for the top part of our icing. So please do 4 more rows of laying your rubber bands in a counterclockwise rotation, and then bring your bottom 2 loops over the top in a clockwise rotation and push them down as you go. So please do 4 more rows of this so that you have 6 rows in total, and I'll be right back. I just finished my 4 more rows, and now I have 6 rows in total. So now we are ready to hook this all the way around, but first we need to take the top loop on this one and switch it to the bottom. So just stick it on your finger and take this one and put it on your hook. Put the loop that's on your finger down first, and then the loop that's on your hook down second. So now once that's done, you're going to start on this peg. You're going to bring the bottom loop and bring it to the peg next to it. And as you can see, that was my bottom loop because it hooked the loop behind it. And now we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to bring our bottom loop over the top and onto the peg in front of it. And see, that one was my bottom loop because it hooked the loops behind it. And we're just going to keep checking as we go. So now on your last peg, you're going to stick your hook in, grab a rubber band, pull it up through, place it back on, and pull one loop through the other. We just finished hooking our cupcake, and now we're going to make a chain because we're going to sew it all up. And for this chain, it is going to be 10 loops and 20 rubber bands. So to make this, you are just going to take 2 rubber bands, place them on your hook, then grab another 2 rubber bands, place them at the top of your hook, pull these through, place it back on, and pull these 2 loops through the other 2 loops, and pull this tight. And you're just going to continue that, so grab 2 more, place it back on, and pull 2 loops through the other 2 loops. And you're going to continue that so that you have 10 loops in total. I have mine already made, and it did take 20 rubber bands. So now we're ready to sew this up. And what we're going to do is start on this peg, the peg that we put our slip knot on. We're going to stick our hook down, and then we're going to pull this up through it until you get to the second loop on this side. And then for the rest of them, you're just going to stick your hook up and then pull this down. Make sure you don't pull too much because you don't want to lose it on this side. So just continue to stick your hook up and pull the rubber bands down. So now once you run out of room, you're just going to take the loops off that you have your chain sewed through. Be careful on the last one. Then you can just pull gently and make some more room on your chain. And be very careful with this because you don't want your chain to break and have all your loops fall off. And just continue. Now you're going to pull it out of your loom. Now we are going to stuff our cupcake. So just take either your polyfill or your cotton balls or whatever you're using, and you're going to just put it inside your cupcake. So now, once it's completely stuffed, you are just going to pull gently on your chain. Now we're going to tie these two together. So do your first one and just pull it nice and tight. And then tie it in another knot. And tie it one last time. So now we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut right above where you see those knots. Now we're going to take our hook and we're going to take that slip knot and we're going to put it on our hook. Then we're going to take another rubber band. You're going to pull this through, place it back on, and pull one loop through the other. And we're going to start sewing up the top. And we want to sew it in a circle, so we're going to start across from it, pull it through. Then we're going to go to one side, pull it through. Then we're going to go across from this side, so on this side. Pull this through. And now you can go and sew it in random places just to make it nice and tight. So now, at the top, with this loop, we are just going to stick our hook through one side, and you want to stick it up to the top, so stick it up there, and then pull this down as far as you can get it. And then you can just pull this out and let it go. Now you can fix it up, and we are ready to make the cherry. So now we are going to make the cherry, and this is completely optional. You do not have to make it, but for this you will need red rubber bands. So we're going to start by taking 2 rubber bands. You're going to twist them on your hook once, Then you're going to grab 2 more rubber bands, place them at the top of your hook, pull these through, place it back on. Then you're going to grab 2 more and do the same thing. Pull these through, place them back on. And now we're just going to turn our hook and we're going to stick it through these 4 loops at the bottom. So all I did was fold it in half, but I left this side on and collected the other side. Now I'm going to take 1 rubber band, I'm going to twist it on my hook 3 times, and I'm going to stretch this out. So stretch it out and pull your loops through. Place it back on, and you're going to pull these 3 loops through the other 3, like that. So you have your cherry, and now you need to attach it to your cupcake. So you're just going to place it on your finger, and don't leave it on for long because you don't want it to cut off circulation. Then you're going to stick your hook through some loops at the top. And don't grab too many, so just stick them in here. Then you're going to grab these 3 loops and you're going to pull them through. And then you're just going to stick your hook through some loops on your cherry. It doesn't matter how many. And all we're going to do is take the 3 and bring them over, like that. And now your cherry is on for good. And you're done. This is what they look like when they're done. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial. And if you make some, I'd love to see them. My Instagram is CraftLifeUSA, so please tag me in a photo. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, pin it on Pinterest, and subscribe right here on YouTube. I hope you're living a craft life just like me. Thanks for watching. Bye!